Well, okay. So here's my problem. I have all this creativity. It's not hard for me to come up with ideas. What's hard for me,
Right.
what's hard for me is to decide upon my ideas.
I understand that.
And like I've been saying to myself and my wife lately is I come up with an idea and I, record a little bit or I write it down, and then I listen back to it and I ask myself, but is that what you want? Like, okay, you have a beginning, a middle, and end. You have a cohesive feel to it. You have some chords. You have little transition. But is it what you want? Is it what your heart is trying to say? Are you getting?
And I understand that, and it's, God, that's a hard one, man. When I write, so I approach lyrics as stories. And so I want a story arc. I want a beginning, a middle, and an end. Because I was a magazine editor and writer and reporter and journalist and I'm a musician. And people would ask me, about writing songs. And my pat answer was always, as a songwriter, I'm a really good magazine editor. and people would laugh, and that would be the end of it. And I told my friend Larry that once, and because he was, wanting to produce some other artists, he wanted to record some stuff that wasn't his, and he said, "You should write some things," and I used that line, and he didn't laugh, and he was looking at me and said, "Bullshit. Songwriting is just storytelling, and you're a storyteller," and that changed everything. That line. But yeah, I think that cadence and story arc are just humongously important. And I think that sometimes people get off track because they're trying, when you said, is this what my heart is trying to say? And I think sometimes you have to back away from that a little bit. You have to look at it almost as a third party sometimes. And it's interesting because, I say that I write stories, but 75% of the time, they end up being about situations in my life. You know what I mean? I just don't approach it that way. I start with a kernel of something else. There's a song on my record called, it's like the only ballad. It's called Betting on You. And it's a bunch of gambling references,
Right.
I
like it a lot.
But in the end, that song became about me and Linda. She calls me her ride or die. And that's in the song, Ride or Die, You Call Me. Doesn't matter where we're going to go. And so it ends up being what your heart's trying to say. But you don't start it that way.